Right, guys, what's going on? All right, we're all set up here now. Welcome to Type Beat of the Week, episode 12. Wow, we've already been doing this for 12 whole episodes, guys. Thank you for all of those who voted this week. Situated here. Thank you to all of those who voted this week. That was on my Instagram page. We got like a two-thirds split towards this Eem Triplin type beat. This is more like a bouncy kind of like dark trap beat. So this will be a pretty cool one to get into and break down. Just going into the voting like I do every week. If you like certain type beats more than others, make sure you're following me on Instagram just so you can get your vote in. I think in the next couple of weeks here, I'm going to do a little poll also to see like what beats you guys want to see in the months coming forward. I'm about a month ahead for like the beats that I release. So if you want like certain type beats, just know that it will be coming down the pipe. But obviously my main staples are like dark trap, Mac Miller type beats, and kind of just odds and ends here and there. But and like Lil Uzi beats are like probably like one of my staples as well. But yeah, we'll keep getting into these beats, and then if there's something you guys want to see more than the other, I'm happy to break that down for you guys. But for this week, we're doing an EM Triplin type beat. So without further ado, I'm going to get right into it. Just make sure that you guys are casting your votes. All right. So for this week, I am doing the EM Triplin type beat that you guys voted for. Um, this was voted for on my Instagram page. I'm gonna play the beat for you guys one time just so you know what it sounds like, and then we'll go from there. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, yeah. Yeah, so that sounded pretty fire already. So like we already know what it sounds like. We got the basics down. The first thing I'm gonna go into is this melody here. This is a we're in the scale of E minor, and this is a 1 1 2. So let's see. So basically just a 1 6. That's what we're doing here. So 1 6. What I'm talking about with 1 6, that's the E to the C. So the E is the first note, the root note of the chord or the scale. C is the sixth note in the scale. So like when you're doing harmonics, a 1 6 progression will go from the one note to the sixth note in the scale. And now you can either go up or down with that, but that would sound a little bit more dramatic than because it's like on the same, you know, C4 versus C5. It's just way much louder. Um, for the piano here, I used an Omnisphere preset. I'm gonna load that up for you guys if it wants to load. Oh, okay. Looks like it crashed, so I'm gonna restart it. We'll get it back, don't worry. All right. So now we'll actually open it. Okay. So ambient space piano. I think this is just a Spectrasonics one. Yeah, so we're breaking down this Omnisphere piano here. All right. Yep. So, like I said, this is just a 1 6 pattern. We got the Omnisphere preset. That's just called ambient space piano. It's just a combination of the dream piano sample and the electric piano sample. I. 'Cause, 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 Yeah, so it sounds pretty smooth, you know, it's like a smooth piano, but you're able to turn it dark when it goes into this. You can just make a darker melody by like over the top. So I just stayed like without any of the top melody. I'll just play the chords for you. Um, so the chords themselves, they're kind of smooth. They're not really dark. Oh, I actually did more than this than I thought. So it's a 1, 6 to 6 to 7 to 5. So 1, 6, 7, 5. That's the progression that I basically followed for this in terms of the harmonics. And then going over the top melody here, the way that I like kept it dark is just by doing half steps. So you can see like in the progression, everything is just going up a half a step. So E to F, like a whole step would be all the way up to like G. So we're just taking half steps, you know, to keep it dark. So those just like when you're like making those steps, I made one big jump here from like I skipped a whole note, you know, it's crazy that we did that, but like that's just how you keep it dark. Like that's how you keep the melodies usually pretty dark. If you're like staying within like a note and like only increasing or decreasing by that, that always will like give it like a more of like a dissonant, dark tone to it. And the other thing that I did with this when I was like drawing it in or playing it in, you can like so like I had it quantized to the scale, obviously, right? So everything was on the hitting at the same time. So what I did to do that is like I just did a simple strum just to keep it like that. So it's like it adds more space in between the notes, so it sounds like you're more like so it's the difference of playing like that versus like that. You hear the difference? It's a little bit like it's a little slight, but like it makes it sound like it's more of a realistic piano than something like that, and that gives it a nice you know, a nice feel to the whole track. So that's the main melody, and then I have this lead that comes in after the fact, kind of a darker lead. It's a sine bell, but like when you play it, it sounds more like a lead, especially at the higher notes. And like because it sounds like that, that's why I went with it. So with this just follows. Let's see, where are we at? So it goes here. Yeah, so it's a pretty simple melody on the top end of that. It just follows some of the notes that are within the following chords. So just like it goes up, up, and then down, down, like that, just so we can kind of keep it up with the like the chord progression, but also like making it sound like it's a dope counter melody. And then so all together, the melodies sound like this. And then we'll go into the drums now. Okay, so those drums, they're like very bouncy, so like keeping up with that. So like in a lot of Eem Triplin type beats, everything that he has is very bouncy, like at a high BPM, but very dark melodies, they're very dark vibes. It's kind of like what we're rolling with here. On this, it's like kind of like Snot, Night Lovell, those kind of guys. They all like have this similar like stylistic thing where it's like it's always going to be a dark song because that's how they rap and that's what usually goes over it. I mean, not always with the Eem Triplin, he makes his own stuff, so like he's kind of like he can like sometimes like make a lovey-dovey song here and there. I mean, we're all artists, we all make different stuff all the time, but like generally speaking, like a lot of these artists like to go with like more of a darker kind of like vibe, but you got to give it that bounce, that like little groove to like keep it like, you know, with what's now and all of that. Give it that little secret sauce. But normally I wouldn't go over the 808s at the same time as my drums, but I'm going to today because for this beat I just didn't really use a kick. I felt like that the bounciness of this 808 was enough. I'm gonna go into the hi-hats first though. Okay, so what I did with this, I just kept it bouncy to a place, and what I mean by that is I didn't do my typical up and down like how this section would be. Like, cause like typically like when I'm like doing something, it's just always like it's pretty standard like that. But this time I like left gaps in between different ones to give it more of a bounce for the hi-hat. So with the hi-hat, like it goes and then I added this little accent here, this little darker note, or not darker note, but like this lower pitched note in there just so we can like get this to go the way that we want it to go. Like it gives it more of that like okay, this is an accent note. It doesn't really like when you're in the mix of it, it doesn't sound as loud as the other one. So it just kind of like adds like a little bouncier groove to it when you're like getting everything together. And you'll hear it as the beat plays out. Um Next I'm gonna go into snares and the percs. Yep. So that like 90% of the rest of it is like just the snares, rim shots, and percs. So all together they sound like this. So the snare itself is just a standard like hits on every offbeat. Um, okay. Okay. So like we'll get like a little bit of like rim shots and different stuff like that, which is fine. So we'll go like this. Okay, so what we're getting right here is we're like getting like a little accent on the perk shot right here. It goes like right over the top with it, so like it'll snare and like that little thing will like make it bounce. So with the hi-hat, it goes like this. So like basically the main thing I'm doing in there is just to add like a little bit more bounce, a little bit more groove. That like is like very accentuated in this beat, and then like we obviously end with my favorite little. So that's how that really goes and plays together. So with the 808s now, I just follow like what I typically do. I just follow my bass notes for the most part, or like notes that like are close or in the same scale. So it's like E, G, B. So the seventh would be here too. So I just followed that basic pattern with that. And because the root note was like this C for this, I didn't want to like differentiate too much from it, so I wanted to make sure I was still hitting the notes that were in there, but if it went too low, it was hard to hear. You see what I mean? It just made it a lot harder to hear, and I wanted to make sure that everybody could hear the bass, because you know you need that bass knocking on something that's going to be bouncy. You need that bass knock. um, so we'll go into this now, like all together. Of course, adding like a crash or something like that is important too. So there you go. Now you've heard every instrument in this. So like a lot of the stuff that I had, you know, you could tell that's like, okay, well, it's a perk shot, and I said that, but like it's also like layered. And I do that to give it more of a like, so with this one, for example, so the dirty stick and the other perk are layered, right? So they sound like this to make it more of a combined sound. Because if it was just alone, it's that sound, and if this one was just alone, it's a much different sound. So putting them together makes its own unique sound and much louder and more in your face. And then the same thing with these perk shots over here at the end. If they were just this, that one sounds different, and this one also very different. So together, they sound make their own unique sound. So like a lot of things, like when you're like trying to make something sound fuller, right? You want it to like sound like it's a full beat, or like this, like it's like, hey, the snare isn't really hitting. You could either do that with like compression, EQ, or you could just double it up with like a different sound, make it its own thing, and like you can like edit it in the mix too. You can do like simple things like that, but you know, it's not like overly complicated, or like doesn't really have to like go over the top with like a lot of the different things that we needed to do. Um, so we'll like go with that, and then here is the full beat. I'll play it all out once again. Okay, so that's like the whole beat together, and then like going into the details of this, we've got this going on like this. So like with the verse, we've just got a simple, you know, 8 bar or 24 bars. We got like a 16 bar intro, which is a little longer than normal, but I like how the eeriness and darkness just builds that way. And then we go into a 16 bar to an 24 bar verse, and then we go into another 16 bar with just a simple outro of 8 bars. Um, yeah, so that's that. With the mix, I really didn't do a whole lot because all of these were like pretty much mixed in. I did some panning left and to the right, merged it together to make it more mono so I could like force it in to its own little pocket of the analyzer. So like when you make it into mono, you can't like you get sometimes some unique sounds, and that's what I did with this one. Not always do you want to do that with your drums, especially if they've already got like reverb or something on that, because they already got their own atmosphere. Um, so like if I'm just to do this with all of the drums, you can see they're only hitting at this level. So they're all in the middle. They're not like really they're not really spaced out, not like in the spatialness of it. The melodies are like what really are there. Now that could be expanded a little bit more, and I could have done a lot more, but I like the way that that sounded, particularly with this beat, because it just wasn't like too much. For me, it just sounded like it was like the right sound to have. Uh, but yeah, um, that pretty much is all I got for the mixing for this. It wasn't too complicated. Uh, Verse structure, not over the top complicated, and that's pretty much all I got for you guys today. Not an overly long video, I know, but this one was a rather simple beat. that's just what I'm gonna leave it at. It was really just a pretty easy beat to make. This one's just like a simple top melody. It's not like too crazy, and you just want to like make sure that your drums are hitting at certain points. And with this one, it was like there's a lot of combo sounds, so there really wasn't that much to go over. And like with the verse structure, it was just more about like it's just about bringing stuff in and like deleting it, like I've said in the past. This isn't like a over the top complicated beat, so I'm not gonna overcomplicate it with different things that I did because there wasn't there wasn't a whole lot that I actually had to do for this one. And there's a lot of space for the artist to do their thing on it, like I always say, is very, very important. Um, but yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Make sure you're voting every week just so you can get your favorite, whatever your favorite one is. Make sure you're voting on my Instagram. It's down below. You can just go click my Instagram page down below, and then you can vote on every Thursday. That's at like 6 p.m. or 6 a.m. Pacific time when that usually starts, and that closes like 24 hours later at the same time. I think I'm gonna do a poll in the next couple of weeks, asking a question like, what kind of beats do you guys want to see? Is there like a certain type of style? Is there a certain type of thing? I'm gonna put that. I hope to see you guys' comments down below. Which ones you think? Please leave a like, and then comment, and then subscribe as well because I need you guys to stick around. Because there's a lot of you who watch these things, like whether it's the chopped up shorts of the videos, whether it's the beat shorts, the full beats, or the full beat breakdowns. I mean, there's a lot of you guys that are watching the stuff, but you're not like subscribed. Come on, guys, I need you. So make sure you're liking the video, commenting on the video. It really, really helps me out. It like pushes it throughout YouTube's algorithm, so I really need you guys' help. All right, guys, but that's all I got. That's all I got for reals this time. Yeah, much shorter video than I've done the last couple of weeks, but the other two ones were a lot more complicated, so I'm gonna cut it short. But all right, guys, peace.